So, got your first riding gig, your first summer at 96 Phantom Regiment. Obviously, went pretty well.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
then moving along, ended up
I
going to
moved over to the
Glassman
Glassmen.
from
Yeah.
97
I
to
went from the
2000.
first place. I went to the first place to like the 12th place or 13th place drum corps
I
that year. It
will
was like,
I will say that the ending of, I believe it's the 1999 Glassman show, is still my favorite ending to a drum corps show of all time. The
really?
whole horn line cuts off, and then you just have this paradiddle diddle shot to doom,
Yeah.
goom.
A little tag. Yeah.
Yeah, phenomenal show, just great.
Those are great years at the Glassman. And the Glassman there, the director, his name was Brian Hickman at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I marched with him at the Cadets, actually. He was a cymbal player at the Cadets, and he also marched in the pit. And so I knew him from that. And Cesario was over there as well. And that's when they got me over, and we started rebuilding that program, really, right from the get-go that year, 97 through 2000.
And then in like, wasn't the corps like fourth place or something in 99? I mean, it was
We
up
got
there.
up to fifth. I think fifth was the highest they got in 98 and 99. The drumline, we got up to fourth, but that year we actually started winning some regionals. Like we were beating some people. And I remember that year was like, wait, the Glassmen just beat us? Yeah, like what? Who won drum set? The Glassmen? Yeah, yeah, we did. Yeah, exactly. That was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, those years and those shows. In fact, like 99 as a drum corps year in general is probably,
That was a lot of fun.
if someone was like top 2 or 3 drum corps years, 99 would be in there, and probably 2003. So
Yeah, for sure.
uh,
And yeah, of note too, I had the same staff I was with Phantom in 94, 95, 96. They basically all followed me over to with Glassman. I was there 97, 98, 99, 2000 basically, right? That was like a huge connection.
Staff
So it was easy.
consistency. It's important.
Yeah, it was easy just to continue on, right? Keep it
Yep.
going.
yeah, I
Yep.
mean, you have people around you that know your system. You guys
Right.
communicate. You understand. Like when I say this is what I mean. Or
You
Yeah.
all trust each other. You know each other. You know how each other operates. Like, yeah, it's
if I'm
super
getting a little
important.
animated, you're not taking it personal. Like
Yeah.
it's just
Oh yeah, like I just remember those days. Like Frank, JJ, Al Dunn, we all just knew each other so well. We just knew exactly what the other one was going to say, or when I was upset about something, they knew how to calm me down, or it was it's still like that today actually with Frank.
I only had a brief stint with Frank in 2010. We brought him on. I mean, the whole
Yep.
2010 Crown season was kind of tumultuous, if that's the right word. But
Yeah,
I mean,
that was a rough one. Yep.
there was a lot of ups and downs and injuries and this and that, and just it was wild. And we kind of brought Frank in or I guess you guys did, as a breath of fresh air to kind of light a fire under our ass and let's finish this thing out. All right, here we go.
You guys, do you remember that year? Well, we'll talk about that when we get to Crown years, but
Yeah. All right, we'll get there.
All in good time. Let's not rush ourselves here.
A lot of success at Crown, or a lot of success at the Glassmen, and
Yep.
then you made the switch over to Crossmen for
And
your
I went to
first
the
stint.
Crossmen. Yeah, so George actually hired me at the Crossmen. We were part of YEA back then, if you
Yeah.
remember
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I was there for again, I think 2000 to
01 to
04. 2001 to 04.
04,
That's
yeah,
what it was. Yeah. And we had some good drum lines there too. Like if you look at that 02 drum line, we did Heat of the Day and some Metheny stuff in there. There's some cool stuff in there. That was some fun shows to write to back
Yep.
then.
And then 05, 06, you hit your first stint at Scouts, which were great years too.
Well-
They did that Carmen show.
Yeah, so Colin actually was doing the Scouts in 05 and 06.
Mm-hmm.
And so in 2000 Glassman, I brought in Colin when he was let go from the Crossmen back then. So I brought him to the Glassmen. Now he took over the Glassmen after I left.
Yep.
And then I went to Crossmen. And then after I was let go by the Crossmen, he brought me over to the Madison thing. Now that was my second time at Madison, by the way, just for the record. If you're keeping score at home here, my second time at Madison, and that was 05 and 06. I would just help out Colin, and a consultant and being in there and
Great
teching
shows,
and whatever.
but
Yeah.
it's kind of important too, because at 05 and 06 there, You got Jeff Brooks in those lines. You got Zach Schlicker, who's helping teach with Colin. You got
Yeah.
Mike Dowd, who's in the bass line
Yeah.
those years. Who ended
Yeah,
up,
so Mike Dow was he marched in Crossmen with me on bass, and Jeff Brooks also marched at Crossmen with me. And so yeah, they came over to Madison with us in '05, basically. Yeah,
and then
Yep.
both of those dudes, Mike and Jeff, end up teaching some stints at Crown, and obviously
Yeah.
Zach
Later on.
ends up teaching at Crown as well.
Yeah, now I yell at Jeff in the summertime when he judges. So, yeah.
So after the kind of brief help out with the scouts, then you get like the gig at Crown with Michael Kresh and all those guys. They were really trying to make some moves, and I don't want to say like resurrect Crown, but I would just say try to put them in the spotlight.
Yeah, the percussion was the weak link in their minds back then. And when I came in, I was basically to rebuild the percussion program and now I was there from '07 to '11. And basically just brought that drum line, shot it through the stratosphere, try to get them, again, rebuilding, learning, knowing what I know how to do, right? With all the guys who I've taught over the years, or, I kind of filled the drum line up, or the drum staff up with those guys. By the way, another note too is Rudy started teaching with me. Rudy Garcia started teaching with me in '02 Crossmen. So I added him with Frank and the boys, and so it's kind of like I just started adding on more guys, and then by the time I got the Crown, I had this huge. I had Zach, I had a bunch of other guys from Madison, right? So there's a bunch of connections.
So you kind of built this teaching roster like throughout your career of different groups and stuff. You're like, oh, we'll take these two people from this corps that marched for me, and then I'll give them a job here, and then now you're at a point where it's like, all right, I got a gig here. Let's pull. Who's available? Who's available?
That's right.
Zach, and there's Rudy, and there's James Sparling, there's Eric Kraft.
James,
Eric
Kraft. Yeah, all those guys, we had connections, whether it was through Glassmen, Crossmen, Madison, all those years. We were just friends. It didn't matter what at that point what corps we were doing. It was more or less like, let's do this thing together. Why don't we build this thing at Crown? And I remember at first a lot of people were like, Crown, no way, I don't want to go to Crown, because nobody wanted to do their drum line there, right? It was this whole faux pas, and with whatever I don't know who came up with that, but I just came into that situation, and we grew that thing pretty well, pretty quick, and
I'd
say so. I was in high school and watched all of it, just the whole progression year to year to year. It got better and better.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was like 5th place, right out the gate. First year, and then '04, the Fantini show, which is great. I think Crown finished like 4th overall and maybe 4th in percussion. And then '09, I think, is probably still to date the highest percussion finish that the corps had. We finished 2nd. And then 2010. Well, I'll back up. 2009 was, I feel like it was just a good recipe and cocktail of ingredients from my perspective as a member. And you had people like Zach and Paul, who were like kind of these like nose to the grindstone, this, that. And then you also had like Eric Kraft, who was like this chill vibe, and those people up in doing the front ensemble with Ian and I'm blanking on his name.
Steve Ballard.
Steve Ballard and those guys just and it was a good dichotomy of personalities that really worked, and I think the corps was just really riding a lot of momentum, and the show was obviously killer too, so that helped.
I think if you look at '07, '08, and '09, I thought we worked together great as a staff just on the production value of the show. Like everything, if you looked at each of those shows, we had fun putting them together as a staff, When we got to 2010, I thought we felt the pressure of almost winning the year before. Yeah, it was like, okay, well, now we almost won. Now we got to try harder on doing this, as opposed to having fun like we were the 3 years prior,
Yeah.
Thought too much about winning.
Even from the get-go, there was hurdles. Like, we spent so long, even in camps, learning that Bernstein piece that never made it to the field.
That was going to be our opener. That was
Mask.
That was a killer piece, man. We were excited about that because there was a percussion feature in it, the whole thing. It was awesome.
Yeah, we were throwing it down, and it never saw the light of day. And there were several things like that. I mean, the whole the ending of the show, the original ending, got cut.
Yeah.
And we went back to the Promise of Living reprise, which
we didn't know what we were trying to struggle how to figure this thing out. Second chance. What does that mean exactly, right?
Yeah. And then in the drumline sort of thing, we had Ashley, who got injured in the middle of the season, who finished out with us, and I'm glad she did, but she moved up to the front ensemble and was filling in. We had another snare drummer that had some mental health issues. I remember we started 9, 5, and 5, and we ended 7, 4, and 5 because one of the tenor players had a back injury. He had herniated disc. And then even one of the bass drummers, bass 3, bass 4, it was originally Alan, and then he got replaced for Tim Norville in spring training.
I remember that.
It was just a wild summer where we had 9, then we went to 8, then we went back to 9, then we went to 7, then we went to 8, then we went back to 7. And like we were learning drumline drill, and I remember at one block, Andy Ebert was up in our box, and he's like, "What are y'all's dots here?" And I was like, "Andy, we don't know.
We don't know." I'll never forget my story back we were on the pavement in Salem, Virginia.
The dog show.
And we were they gave the drum line the payment for the day. It was awesome. So I was like, okay, well, we're on the blacktop here. And we had to, remember, I closed everything down. I was making my own dots up back then. It was like, okay, what are we doing so wide? So when we are so wide in our sound here? Let's say snares, bring it in a little bit here and crush it in. Like we were like making our own crap up. It was crazy.
What's funny, Evan's walking through the saga of like up a snare drummer, down a quad player, all this stuff, and this is changing. I just know because him and I obviously went to college together, and I was marching at Blue Stars that same summer, so I was getting like the play-by-play on a daily, weekly basis, like this crazy thing happened today, or like so like everybody in the Blue Stars drumline was like, "Hey, Crown, this was different. Like what's going on?" Like they had one less person, now they're back up, and it was like a daily or weekly saga, like coming to me for the updates on like what's going on with Crown's battery or the percussion section. It was wild.
We did
all the details.
We did an ending to the show in Atlanta, and that was the last time we did it.
Is that why we beat you all in drums in Atlanta?
Hey,
that was a mistake.
You know what? Hey, you texted me after that regional, and you were like, we were hyped. We're the Blue Stars. Like, we just beat Crown at drums randomly.
Absolutely.
You all been kicking our butts like the whole summer, as it should have been. You all were better than us. And I said it at the time, and I'll say it here now. But like, Evan texted me. We're on the bus leaving the whatever stadium, and he's like, that score's bullshit, right? And I was like, oh, I 100% know it's incorrect, and you're gonna beat us by at least a point tomorrow at the show. But
we'll take it.
It happened today still, so we're gonna live with it.
Yeah, whatever. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, 2010. Then 2011, we moved on, and actually, you can tell we started having fun doing the show again.
Yeah,
definitely.
You can just see it was like, hey, let's put together a cool show, right?
So 2010 obviously had its ups and downs, but 2011 it seemed like it was a better, fresher approach to just like designing the show. Like, let's just get back to doing what we do and have a better experience.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun putting that show together that year. Back to like we did the first 3 years I was there. It was like, okay, great. All right, let's have some fun. Let's put together what we think is a great drum corps show. And I think in the end, you could see that the kids were having fun and we were performing the crap out of it, right? So
it was a cool show. It was definitely a cool show.
Yeah.
Definitely. On a side note, 2010 was also the reason that I did not age out of DCI officially.
Nice.
And it had nothing really to do. It was just a culmination of things like that summer, and I went. It
was a beatdown.
Yeah, it was a beatdown, and I wasn't gonna march. And then at the last second, my internship for the summer was like, "Well, you could probably do this," and so I texted Tim Jackson because at the last second he was there with Blue Coats and Rhythm X. I was like, "Hey, I might be able to march this summer." He was like, "We got to come to camp this weekend," and I was like, "Well, I don't really want to because I don't know if I can march." And so I went to the camp, and then shit kind of blew up, and all the Crown guys were like, "We saw you on Facebook at the Blue Coats camp," and I was like, "I don't even know if I can march this summer," which ended up I didn't because I couldn't march because I had to graduate college. But it was kind of wild, Everybody's like, "Wow." But anyway, so after your crown stint, you end up at your third stint for Scouts.
Yeah, for those counting at home, my third time back at the Madison Scouts. That's right. That was 2012, 13, and 14.
In one of those years, you guys were like 5th in drums.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was
the Army show.
That was 13, right?
Yep, 2013 was the Army show, the Band of Brothers idea.
I think you had another Morehead State guy in that snare line that was at school with me, Evan and I, Jamie Vilsek.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Jamie's like down in Texas now.
I know. He's like
something. He's like
got his PhD
college,
now and doing doctorate and doing all kinds of stuff.
Good for Jamie.
Yep.
Yeah, we had some fun there too because we brought that program up from like 13th in drums to like 5th, like you say. Like that was fun. That was fun while it lasted there.
And you and James were kind of back together again.
Yep, James became my caption head. He wrote some stuff as well. We did a little tag team on that, and actually James ended up taking over that program after I left. Mm-hmm. And I went to Cadets again. Colin called me up at the end of 14 when I wasn't going back to Madison, and and then we ended up bringing 3 or 4 Madison kids with us in 2015. Out there, and I had a blast actually teaching back at the Cadets. I haven't taught at the Cadets since I aged out. I never taught there, so that was my first years going back to teach at Cadets in 2015 and 16 with Colin, and then Colin left to go to Boston, and then I left. I actually consulted Academy with Cisco, who was my section leader at Crown. At Crown, he brought me in to help out his program at Academy. That was 17-18 Academy. And then Tom, I started talking to Tom, and he brought me in to consult with him in 18 and 19 at the Cadets. So I started to get I knew the staff from before, from 15 and 16 for the most part, but started to really get to know them in 18 and 19.
I'd say that helps a lot with kind of where you are now, because after that 19 summer, you obviously went back to Crossmen for the second time, 21, 22, and even...
Yeah, those keeping count at home. That's my second time back at the Crossmen. No,
so even 21, 22, and 20... Oh, third time.
Yeah, because I wrote the Crossmen show in 2011 and 12, I believe.
All right.
11, 12, 13, 11, 12, something like that. Yeah, so I think that this is actually my third time back at the Crossmen.
Still at the Crossmen, still helping out, doing the thing there, writing.
Still writing there, building a program.
Yeah, because obviously you guys had a lot of good success in 2022. The drum line playing really well, making good sounds, high quality. I know the core is obviously the expectation is, hey, we want to try to get back into finals, I'm sure, as anyone would. It's competitive. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're all competitive. But obviously building it in the right direction, so you're still going to hang around and do the thing with them and make sure that it keeps continuing that. I think there's a misconception around the internet that you're not.
Yeah, no, I'm still with the Crossmen. I built the staff there. I built the team around there. Last year was really the first year coming out of COVID. Like, we had no members who marched before. Everybody was a rookie. We're pretty much in the drum line, and not even that. Not even any drum corps experience for the most part. Like, there was nobody, it wasn't like they were from other drum corps. This was like, we're starting fresh here,
That was my next question of, if they're all Crossmen rookies, are they all drum corps rookies? Because that makes it even more impressive. I think I mentioned before we started, like, I really enjoyed watching you all because I felt like you found the right mix of, there's beef where we can afford to put it. We're going to focus on fundamentals, sound quality, hitting the drum the same way, producing a good sound and clarity, and we're going to write a book that might not be like a top 6 difficulty level drum corps book, but it's still going to challenge this level of member. We're going to play it well to the degree of where it sounds and comes off just more mature, just with more quality, and just have a level of clarity that makes us like stand out. Even if we're not playing all the crazy hybrid rudiments all the time and ramming all these weird rhythms, we're just going to make everyone better from the start of the summer to the end, and just have a great sound and clarity. And I think it worked out great. I enjoyed watching you all every time I saw it.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, you go into that season with a conscious approach of, hey, listen, I'm not going to be able to write everything I could write. It's not going to be about me. It's going to be about making sure that these guys can play up to a great level, whatever that is. So that's kind of how I wrote the book. I'm glad you recognize that, because that was tough. It was just tough knowing that I could probably write more for them, but it was tough because they couldn't quite play that yet up to a certain level, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Clean is the best type. Good. I would much rather play in a drumline that plays a little easier of a book and plays the hell out of it, basically. Super clean, then play like a crazy difficult book and just have dirt everywhere, ticks flying. Clean was always the most fun thing for me to be in the middle of.
Well, and I think as a foundation, we were just trying to, when you're building foundation, it's important that everybody understands what clean is and what quality of sound is as a foundation first. You got to get that first if you want to go to that next level. And I think we got that level now, so we can move to that second level. Now, I see a lot of drum lines don't do that, with guys coming in or right or whatever. There's no level of foundation. It's, and they are playing more. Yeah, sure. But, is there that foundation there, So.
And obviously, let's see, 2021 there wasn't the season? Is that what it was?
Yeah. 2020 did not happen. 21 was the short season.
Oh, I was trying to look up the placement for 2021. I knew in 2022 in semifinals, the drumline placed 11, or the percussion ensemble, sorry. Not just drumline. The percussion ensemble placed in 11th place, so made finals.
We were there. We were actually as high as 10th, like in Allentown, I believe we were 10th coming in. So, we were making strides. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. We were making strides, but I think I'm excited for this year for the Crossmen, and I know that Frank's heading it up over there at the Crossmen. I'm excited for those guys, and we're gonna bring a better second year, I think. And now because we have veterans in the line, we have a foundation now of expectations. I think it's just going to get better.
So the culture starts to build. You have that holdover from the previous season that can come back, and it all just year after year builds on itself, and consistency just grows.
So obviously you're working with the Crossmen, and also you're doing the gig with Cadets now, and that's your kind of home core. You aged out there. You spent 4 great years there. You love the history of this, and for me personally, I feel like your writing style and your approach to the activity fits so well with the tradition of the Cadets and what they stand for stylistically, and a lot of the kind of run and gun and aggressive, and like we're just gonna like kind of punch it down your throat at times. And now you're building your team, and you've got like a great mix of some of the people that have been there, along with some other fresh faces. And just kind of take us through how the winter camps have been going. You can tell us the show title and everything about it if you want, but
nice try.
He's fishing. Yeah, fishing.
Yeah. No, you know what? It's been great. I hired pretty much the whole staff from the last couple of years that have been there. Everybody is back for the most part. I've added in, Travis Peterman, who came from Crown, who has some D2 lineage and CWP, the Cadets Winter Percussion when they had that. Also was taught by Tom, I think, from at Blue Stars, right? At the time. Yep. So there's some lineage there. And then I brought in James James Sparling, who was with me at Madison, but he also taught the Cadets back in 09, 08, 09, something like that.
He was there. I'm pretty sure he was there the year they won
13
the Angels and Demons show.
Or 11,
I think. Yeah.
So, so there's some connection there. And then obviously Jake Gull's back with the Corps. It's like, I don't know, 20th year, 15th year. I don't know, something crazy.
Sarah was taught there before.
Yeah.
So Fabian.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. And then you look at, Sarah Fabian, who's a bass tech, also marched Crown with me. So I'm going to keep her around, and makes a lot of sense. But then the front ensemble as well, I brought in Monty, and Monty marched the Corps and also was doing Crown the last bunch of years, along with Anthony over there. And I'm really excited about the front ensemble, and we kept most of the staff from last year as well, and brought in some other cadet alumni to help teach there as well. So everybody has some kind of cadet lineage here to try to keep this program. Now, obviously the pressure's on me to make sure we keep this thing cranking and moving because of the tradition of the percussion ensemble at the Cadets.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I understand that. I mean, I marched it, I lived it. I was here in 15, 16, and 18 and 19. So, you know, I am well aware of the demands on the percussion ensemble, and I'm looking forward to the challenges, you know, moving this thing forward. First couple of camps have been great, by the way, to answer those questions.
And the show title is?
The show title is you'll find out sooner or later.
When the press release comes out.
Yeah.
But it's been a lot of fun so far. A lot of great collaboration so far. That's one of the things I do like to talk. And you know, it's not just about me coming in and you're going to play this and we're going to do it this way. I want to make sure when I got guys like Jake and Travis and James in the room, I'm going to take all their ideas. We're gonna bring this thing together as a team here to move this thing forward. I'm really excited about that.
I think that's pretty key, is to have people around you that just ask questions like why.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this?
Yep.
And then
Keep
you have
everybody
to
else
validate
honest.
you have to justify, like, we're doing this for this reason, or in your head you're thinking, why are we doing that? Like, let's rethink that. Like, let's sit down.
Right.
That stuff makes all the difference in the world, and then just being able to adapt and change and evolve what you're doing, especially in today's climate and game where just the level of playing from all around is just so high.